Did you hit record? Oh. Take 2, episode 1. Busted my phone. Not really, I'm just kidding.
It's recording, yeah.
But so, yeah, we had some hiccups. So we thought, you know what, we'll just do it again.
Yeah.
We like talking to each other.
Yeah. We like each other.
But, yeah, so basically, last time, I
Yeah.
think what we were talking about was that I remember you asked me about doing a podcast.
Yes.
I love the idea. I think it's great. It gives us an opportunity to talk about things that we really enjoy, like real estate, just being funny, snowboarding, things like that. This wasn't in the initial podcast, but a question I had for you, completely unrelated to real estate, was you told me I've had 2 of my best snowboard trips have been because of Aaron's recommendation. So you recommended Jay Peak,
yes,
just as a great family resort,
within driving distance.
Within driving distance. And then you also recommended Jackson Hole, which so you've gone twice. Yeah, I went a couple of years ago with some buddies. Great. We didn't have the greatest, it didn't snow a lot when we were there, but we had an awesome time. What would you say is your favorite snowboard trip that you went on? I think I know the answer, but I don't know.
So I would say, previous work, working within the snowboard industry, we got to ride a ton of hills. So to pick a favorite one, I would still say Jackson Hole inbounds was probably one of my most favorite places to ride for sure. I would say that. Fortunate enough to ride all over kind of North America, Europe a couple of times.
Oh, nice! I didn't know.
Yeah, so we had a couple of salesmen. One of the companies was based out of Italy, so we were able to kind of go to northern Italy, which was a blast. But I would say inbounds Jackson Hole. Yeah. Obviously, Whistler a bunch down in the States, but it's. I'm glad that you liked it there. Yeah, it's phenomenal. It's a place that actually the client that took me there my second last time, and it was great. He's going back in March, so he goes every year.
We were gonna go. Amanda and I were planning on. I'd been raving about it to Amanda, and because airfare before COVID was relatively inexpensive, so we were planning on we were gonna do a family trip this March to Jackson Hole. Right. I don't think it's gonna happen unless something crazy happens. But
and also to spin back around too, I think, and we had mentioned, or you did, as far as you owning property out of Big White, right? So, Joe will kind of allude to that probably a little bit more, but 2 investment properties out west. So I think, my name's Aaron Zukla from the Here to Help team, Joe McDowell from the Here to Help team. Yeah. We want to have some fun with this. You can either tune in or tune out. You're not going to hurt my feelings and probably Joe's, but
no, not at all.
I think, we did the first one last week. I'm terrible at editing, and before we knew it, we had chat for 25 minutes, and I thought, how are we even going to chat for 5 minutes?
Yeah, so I know.
I think if we want to kind of pick up where we left off, maybe you can start again.
Absolutely, yeah. So, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to ask that question, because you had another lifetime. You had another lifetime where you were you had another career. Yes. You had multiple rental properties. Yes. Just a whole other Aaron, and then because of circumstances beyond your control, things changed. And I think there's a lot of people. The reason that I wanted to talk about this topic was that I think there's a lot of people that have life changes, and they think it's game over. They're not going to be able to get another investment property, let alone a primary residence. Correct. So I wanted to talk a little bit about how you were able to do that, and sort of and get back to where you were. Yeah.
So that's a great question, and I think I said that in the first episode. Definitely. So I was roughly 20 years in the action sport industry, snowboard, skateboard sales, and then ran a clothing company that Tom and Mark and their friend Dylan started, Atticus, for Canada. In 2010, West 49 was bought by Billabong, and I got the call in September that probably my PO for spring would be my last order from them, because they had 9 house brands. So that was September 2010. I worked with Hudson closely before. My wife and I at the time, Cheryl, had bought investment properties through Hudson. So I came in September thinking we need to unload one to have some capital, and then he had asked me, have you ever thought about real estate? and this is going back probably 2005, I started to take phase one, but then my job in the action sport industry kind of got busy, so I stopped. So when Hudson had said, when I sat down with him about selling one of our, Cole Road actually, little semi, he had said, have you thought about real estate? And I knew that it was time for a change because I wouldn't really have an income or a job in the spring of 2011. So the next day I started to take the courses, was fully licensed by April 2011, and worked with Hudson for about 5.5 years, went on my own, and then just joined you guys with Andre Arnold here to help, just kind of in, I would say, March of this year, right? So 2020. But so at the time, Cheryl and I, so 2 boys, we had an investment property, Cole Road, 920 Edinburgh, sold those, so it kind of allowed me to start this new career in real estate. So the proceeds from those sales allowed me to kind of maybe 1.5 years of comfort, meaning, okay, well, I need to, the panic mode of always thinking, where's the next check coming from?
Yeah.
When you're taking the course, they say, have enough for 6 to 9 months. It's, I would say have enough for 1 year to 1.5 years. So that's why it's also hard to break into it. Yeah. Unless you have a spouse or partner that can carry you, right? Or help, so to speak. Yeah, I would say carry. So we sold those. Then jumped in.
Were those were those solely student rentals? Were you renting to students?
Students at the time, because back then I would say yes, it was the buy-in rate. I'm trying to even think what at the time when Hudson sold 920 Edinburgh, it was the highest sale at the time, and the gentleman that came in, I'll remember his name, but it was like 3 offers, and then the last one was just like, we have to take it, right? I think it was like 247 at the time. So that was good, able to kind of support ourselves for 1.5 years, plus Cheryl was working, obviously. And then to kind of fast forward, the question was, how do you rebound, or if you think it's game over? So Cheryl and I separated in 2015, and the proceeds that I had enough to put down on a condo at 1077 Gordon, which I still own. So that mortgage is coming up. It'll be 5 years this May of 2021. But so at the time, obviously going through that whole process of the separation, having been through it, also having now dealt with clients that have been through it, to have that feeling of what's going to happen as far as owning. I thought that I'd have to rent for a while, which I did. But I was just had enough money left to squeak to put down on the one in Gordon. Which was a place, for obviously my boys and I at the time. And I thought, great, I'm rather than renting at $1,500-$1,700 a month, my mortgage and condo fees were about $18. So just it made sense. And then to fast forward to being able to move in April of 2019, bought a little bungalow from a gentleman that we work with here, Lou. It was his parents' home. So then to kind of be able to keep the rental purchase, I don't know if I'm jumping ahead.
No.
You're right. It's that game over. Like I can't do it. And
one of the reasons that I wanted to bring that up is that I know there's a lot of people on Instagram and there's a lot of people out there that have great content. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it's not good content, because it is good content. And they talk about the BRRRR strategy, where you buy, you renovate, you rent, refinance, and then some people add an additional R, repeat, do it again. But I think I feel like they're missing a lot of the population of people who are saying that's great if you have $100,000, $200,000,
that liquid cash,
to be able to facilitate that in the short term. This is why I wanted to have this conversation, because both you and I were able to do the BRRRR strategy gradually.
Correct.
So you can do the BRRRR strategy gradually. Don't get discouraged when you hear these people saying, oh, you know what, I bought this, and 2 months later I had it rented, and the bank already gave me the refi to do it again. Absolutely, that's possible, but it's not real life all the time. And we're here to tell you how to do it slowly.
And especially in this market too, when when the average home in September was like 903. So I think it's not impossible. And I think going back to what your comment was, like, we always think, or the thought was, it's not attainable, it's not achievable. Whereas if you just do it slowly, like I only had enough 5% down on the condo at the time, which was $269. And then I moved from there and moved my primary residence to Normandy. At another I could only put 5% down, so I had that high insurance premium. But at the time, it made sense. I was able to get into another detached home with the thought in mind, one day I will put like a legal 1-bedroom. Which we can chat about as well. And I was able to kind of, facilitate that, and now have renters in below me. A little over 1,000 square feet. Redid the entire basement, gutted it, put a separate entrance in. Had to knock, some doors in the cinder block. So it was an amazing experience to kind of go through it from start to finish. I started out with myself trying to do stuff, and then hired a general contractor just to take over. And Daryl McMillan, big shout out to him. He was a godsend. Like he just, he worked at Reed's Homes, I believe, for 22 years, and has since moved on. But it was amazing just to see how organized he was. And then I was able to kind of meet the trades, get a better understanding. But it is achievable. And now I think, I'm looking at probably doing a refi. But I've been in there. It'll be 2 years this April, so it wasn't 2 months. So
exactly. But you're right. You're getting close to the refi, and so it's hard to get the ball. I shouldn't say it's hard. It's slow to get the ball rolling, and you got to put your head down and just look at the baby steps.
Correct.
Don't try not to look too far in the future, or you will get discouraged. But now you're getting to the point where the snowball is going to be big enough that it should start moving faster.
And I think that's a good point. It's just need to get that, like you said, that ball rolling. It doesn't need to be quick. It is like building a snowball. It's just once the momentum goes, it's and so hopefully get everything done as far as taxes and whatnot, and then did I say that? Paid them yesterday. I'm not gonna say what year, but anyway, it doesn't matter. But then that will allow me to come back in and have the home reassessed, and hopefully have enough equity to at that point, maybe there will be X amount that will allow us to. And I'm really doing this, obviously, in our business as far as a pension. There's nothing really there, but I want my kids to be able to see that it's attainable. And it's going to be like, my boys are 24 and Sam will be 22 this month. Like realistically, I think, not to get off topic, but in order for them to purchase something once they get the momentum going with their jobs, I think it'll be almost like a living inheritance. So whatever equity I have, so if I refi and I have X amount, maybe I can help them, put towards their house, just because rather than, in theory, and this is the way that I grew up, like, my parents bought a house they couldn't afford, paid it off in 10 years. But my dad's always, we always want my dad now to, hey, don't worry about us, like, spend your money. But I think it's always nice to hopefully leave that kind of legacy. And
absolutely.
But it's the work ethic and just show it can be done. I know times are different, right?
And it feels scary being an outsider. So I can relate to you in the sense that, so Amanda and I bought our first home. Our first home was a bungalow. In the west end of Guelph. And we were getting outbid. So we started looking in the south end, near the university, as well as downtown, and we were getting outbid all the time, and we were getting discouraged, and we almost thought, why don't we just buy a row house and then forget about this this dream of having an investment property. And then our agent at the time showed us something in the West End, which it wasn't on our radar. But the numbers worked when I looked at when I was looking at the numbers in the sense of financially, will this hit the markers that I've set for myself, and I felt like it was going to work. So we purchased it. I was super excited. And
that was Dunhill.
Yes. It was nice little, probably 1,100 square foot bungalow with a separate entrance through the garage. It already had an in-law suite. So my understanding at the time was that it was going to be legal non-conforming as long as I don't even remember what the guidelines were. It was going to be legal non-conforming as long as it had been built 20 years prior.
Right. Okay.
So I thought, perfect. This is a win. Check it off for Joe. But what happened was, so I called the city because in order to have a legal non-conforming unit, what needs to happen is you still have to have bylaw come in and make sure that you're meeting on this. It has to look like a single family dwelling from the outside. At that time, there needed to be X amount of space for parking.
Yeah.
Now, recently, they've changed that.
Yeah.
You can contact either Aaron or I, and we
Yeah.
can sort of fill you in on what those changes are. But at the time, there needed to be a certain amount of parking.
Yeah.
As well as you had to have someone come in from the fire department,
Yeah.
fire marshal or something,
Yeah.
to make sure that it was to code for fire.
Yeah.
So there were still some steps that we had to follow, but not nearly as labor or capital intensive
Yeah.
as doing a full
Yeah.
accessory apartment. So
Yeah.
I contacted the city. I was so proud of myself.
Yeah.
And so the permit guy came in. He walked around. He was super nice. He looked at the whole apartment, and as he was leaving, he's like, "Oh, by the way, yeah, before I even came, I pulled up the permit, and it showed that the building inspector had said that this was a rough-in when he did the final inspection on when it was built. So you're gonna have to get a permit for this." So my heart dropped, and I thought, "That's it. I'm not gonna be able to do this." But I just chipped away. I just sort of.
What was Amanda's response to that? Was it really at that point? Because I think I'll lead up to another point.
Yeah.
How did that go? Like, you didn't need to. Let me see. It's not like you sold her on it. Hey, we're gonna buy here. Like, did you go in there thinking, hey, we need that?
No.
Oh, so okay.
No.
So, okay.
No. Luckily, we didn't do that. But so this is where I'll pick up. I was gonna say this is where Amanda's worth her weight in gold, but I shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
She's worth more. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
No, Amanda.
Yeah.
Amanda's amazing, and she did some digging and found that there's a program at the university called Homestay.
Okay.
Where you can host international students.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And it's kind of like billeting. So you can get a fee, or there's funding that they'll give you.
Right.
And as long as it was a legal bedroom that they were in.
Yeah.
So we were able to. So we were able to get some rental income.
The way the home was sat.
Exactly. Yeah. So we were able to get some income.
Yep.
We were still getting some rental income through the university, and it was amazing to have. Like, it was so nice to have students, international students, staying with us. It was a really cool experience, and it sort of gave us a chance to breathe for a second.
Yeah,
and
homestay.
Yeah, it's a neat program. I think, again, like everything else in the world, COVID has really really shut that program down.
Yeah.
But it's such a cool program.
Okay.
So that sort of Amanda's the kind of person that is just like, tell me what the problem is, and we'll come up with a solution.
Amazing.
So so that was our solution, and then we were able to just chip away.
And then that became legal. Like, did you bring everything up to code?
Yeah, we brought everything up to code. But so I chipped. That's another another hiccup that I didn't get to talk about in the other podcast that I wanted to talk about this time is. So the first mistake that I made was that I didn't look. I should have looked at the permits online to see if
and we as agents do that.
Yes.
9 times out of 10, especially if there's any type of basement done, or like in-law suite.
Absolutely, yeah. So at that time I was just a consumer. I wasn't an agent yet, and so I should have done that. The other thing that I should have done that now I know as well is don't pick the lowest bid when you have a contractor. So I chose the lowest bid, and I really regretted it. So that's another thing. But nonetheless, we chugged along.
Sure.
And I was able to get other contractors who still do work for me to this day because they're amazing.
Yeah.
But I was able to really cut down the costs. I'm sure you saw this too. I don't know how much work you were able to do, but I was really able to cut down the costs on the project by saying to the contractors, listen, I'll be your general laborer.
Sure. Yeah.
Tell me what to do.
Yeah.
And I'll do it. So I think that really cut down the costs.
And I think for us dealing with our clients, having now been through the process from start to finish where it's a blank canvas, you really, if you're thinking about buying for this purpose, really lean on your agent that you know, like, trust.
Yeah.
Because he or she should, in theory, have those contacts where it's an easier process.
Yeah.
And that's why I said, like, having Daryl kind of come in, I bumped into him at Zayres, hey, what's going on? It was like during COVID, things kind of were up in the air. And like I said, it was amazing. But so yeah, you've been through that process of this is amazing to find out the city go, well, you got to start from fresh.
Yeah. And the one thing that showed me was that it's not a death sentence.
No,
it's not.
You're right.
Like, I'm not always, I don't.
It's not game over.
No, it's not game over.
Yeah.
And I'm not, like, there is a mentality among some people, not everybody, but there's a mentality of like, oh, the city's just out to get you. And it's like, no, once you go through the process and once you see what they're doing, they just want to keep you safe. Yeah. They want to keep the population safe. Yeah. And in the end, if you have a legal accessory apartment in your house, the bank's gonna like it more. Yeah. The next buyer's gonna like it more. It is far better to do it the right way.
Yeah, there's rules and codes in place, and we know a little bit about them. They know everything. So I mean, I had zero issues at all with any of the properties that I've owned with the city. If there's a fraction, if that's the right term, just you got to fix it. There's a reason why it's there so that everybody is safe.
And they want to help you fix it. It's not like they want you to fail. They want you to do it right.
Yeah, and that's been my experience. And I know whatever we're talking about is obviously our own opinion. But anyways, we do disclaimer? No,
We'll just say, whenever we're unsure, we'll just say allegedly.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
Allegedly.
No, I don't know. Don't watch the news. So yeah, I think Joe and I both have had a good experience with that concept of rental.
Yeah, doing an up-down, we both, I know, well, obviously, we're both big fans of getting a bungalow and turning it into an up-down duplex / accessory apartment. It lends itself well to that. Your pool of buyers afterwards is just, you're going to have investors, you're going to have people who might have mobility issues, so they want the one floor. Yeah.
Multi-generations, like kind of living, it's actually quite nice.
Yeah, as a mortgage helper, that's another one. Like, I just don't see you going wrong.
Yeah. So yeah, I would say the concept here from my end, when Joe had asked me the question, you're right, there's always, it's not game over. I think in the darkest hours of going through that kind of separation, you're obviously running, as far as emotions are high for a number of different reasons, right? Especially when kids are involved. I'm very grateful that Cheryl and I definitely still get along, so that's a benefit for myself and the boys. But there were moments where it's like, am I gonna have to move home with my dad?
Yeah.
At 41.
Yeah.
Will my dad even let me move home? I've since asked him. He's like, no way. I want to put a tiny house shipping container on his property out in Eden Mills, and he's like, no. But I really think that, and having been through that. There is, if the right term is, there's light at the end of time. There is always a way to have it done. So as far as feeling discouraged or game over, I'm going to say that no, not as corny as if there's a will, there's a way. But there's opportunities. So don't think that if you're going through a hard time, there are ways around it.
And how often? I mean, I run into some clients who they are really. You can tell they don't really like the idea of starting in a condo. And I understand that. I get it. But I think that your story kind of really shows that it's 5 years.
Joe, I will say this, and I've heard it many times from many different agents, but time in is better than time out. Yeah. And I had to rent for 7 months until everything was finalized and we were both able to purchase something. That's what I could afford. Mm-hmm. So you go from a 2,000 square foot home, old university, 80-foot wide lot by 175, 20 by 40 pool, phenomenal home, to renting a 900 square foot bungalow, to literally moving into 815 square feet. Mm-hmm. But you know what? As soon as I got the keys and I opened the door, I can almost cry thinking about it. Enjoy. It's there is silver lining. There's a way around it. So do you have to put your pride aside? I didn't. I just wanted to have a roof over my head. Yeah. And I've always said to my boys, as long as I'm breathing. I will do my best to have a room for you.
Yeah.
So like it was, 2-bedroom and a den, but we made it out. I was still able to keep it. So I think if you're getting discouraged, you feel like it's only happening to you, but it happens, and we deal with it all the time.
Yeah.
Like coming up on 10 years as far as this business, death and divorce are unfortunately a big part of our business, right?
Yeah.
So, I didn't swallow my pride. I knew that I needed a place to live.
Yeah.
And it was what I could afford. So I know that it's easier said than done, but
Mm-hmm.
time in is better than time out for sure.
And so, did you know at that point that you wanted Gordon Street to be a rental property?
No, at that time I thought this is it.
Yeah.
And in fact, I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Turn the key, leave. Like it was amazing. So no, I thought that was, I'm getting, my feet are now in a spot. I'm settled. This is where I'm going to be.
Yeah.
And then the opportunity came 3 years later to purchase the home on Normandy that
so you didn't even know, so it wasn't even until Normandy came up that you thought that you started coming up with this strategy.
100%. Yeah.
That's awesome.
No, it was kind of like I truly have a saying, every day is a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Get up,
Just
head down,
grind.
go to work.
Yeah.
So did I always want to be in a detached home again? Yeah, because there were aspects of the condo that, it's not a detached home.
Yeah.
But I was content. And so when this opportunity came up, it was like, but I had it in my mind. I was in a little bit over my head,
Mm-hmm.
but I knew that I needed to put that 1-bedroom basement apartment in at some point in the first 2 years if I could.
Yeah.
In order to help alleviate, just kind of keep my monthly costs leveled out a bit.
Yeah.
Because the one downfall when we bought an old university, it was definitely at our limit as far as budget goes.
Mm-hmm.
The concept was to put a legal 2-bedroom in at the time,
Mm-hmm.
put an offer in on a Thursday, conditional upon financing.
Mm-hmm.
And I mentioned this before. So at the time, Cheryl and I'm like, I don't know, this is, if we waive, we got to put the apartment in, blah, blah. I was ready to borrow money in order to put the basement apartment in.
Yeah.
We waived, and that loan, I wasn't able to get the money.
Yeah.
Because I was borrowing it from a close family member. And at the time, he just I don't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
So in my mind, it's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
If I can say that, which I just did.
Yeah.
So once again, I felt underwater.
Yeah.
We did what we could do, but at some point, it just became too much.
Yep.
And I didn't have the capital to put the apartment in.
Yeah.
We were there only 2.5 years, so I didn't have enough time to build the equity, you know what I mean, in order to to feel comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
And then ultimately, we had to sell, and then that was it. But I didn't, where I'm at right now, if you would have asked me 5 years ago when I first moved into the condo, this is it.
Mm-hmm.
So, which I was okay with that. Just wanted to be somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And if you hear that humming in the background,
I'm
hoping Steve Foley comes through that door, the elevator.
That'll be hilarious.
Yeah.
If he comes through. We can put him on the spot. No, that's great. I think that's a great that formula is great. And now you're getting to a point now where your burst strategy, you're a fan of the burst strategy, and now you're getting to a point where have you ever heard the saying, deferred joys purchased through sacrifice are always the sweetest?
No.
So that, to me, that's what you're talking about right now is exactly that. You kept your head down.
Yes.
Every day is a Tuesday, to use your words.
Yeah.
And now you're in a position where you're going to be able to start doing a burst strategy
100%.
in a much shorter time.
Correct.
Like your turnaround is going to be a lot faster.
It is a lot, but I had to start it, right? So like you said, you hear everybody, you buy, and then in 2 months, well, that's great if you're net worth and you have the liquid cash. But it can be done.
Even what's your goal? How many do you want? How many investment properties do you want? Do you have a number in your head?
I know you do. To be honest, I'm not really a numbers guy.
Yeah.
I would say realistically, the next 10 years, so I'm 46, the next 10 years for me are really setting up for, I think, my retirement. Yeah. So at 55, if I would, if I could squeeze out a couple more just to have that buffer, it would be phenomenal. And
because it's just going to get better and better. Every year, your cash flow is going to go up, and the amount